In this episode, you'll learn the difference between what did they say and what have they said. Also, where were you and where have you been? We'll also give you some advice on how to improve your writing in English. Welcome to
Aprender Inglés with Reza and Craig.
Hello, my name's Craig.
And my name's Reza.
And with nearly 50 years of teaching between us, we're going to help you improve your grammar, your vocabulary, your pronunciation, and take all aspects of your English up to the next level. If you're a new listener, you're very, very welcome. Reza, how are you doing?
I'm doing well. I'm doing fine. Now that the lockdown conditions are being eased, E-A-S-E, ease, a verb, means to make things easier, more relaxed. I'm beginning to feel a little bit more energetic. What about you?
Yeah, me too. It's an interesting time where we're trying to find the new normal and finding ways of living and functioning and working, if we're lucky enough to have jobs, working under the new restrictions. So I'm feeling positive. I'm feeling very good about the next few months. Let's hope that we can get over this as soon as possible. We're starting this week with an audio message from Rocío from Chile.
Hi Reza, hi Greg. It's here Rocío from Chile. I wanted to talk to you just to say thanks for everything that you're doing with your podcast. I actually learned a lot and improved my vocabulary through your podcast. So thank you very much. I would like to ask for a little piece of advice because I've been struggling with writing without making spelling mistakes. Actually speaking, it's really easier because you don't make those kind of mistakes, and actually if you had an accent you can still be understood by native English speakers. So that's, well, I don't know. I mean, I need to get tips to improve my writing. I know that you have to read a lot. I do read a lot in English, but I still keep on making them. Maybe it's because I have no one to practice with and to make them read what I'm writing. But anyway, so if you have any, I will be really, really, really glad. I forgot the word I was just about to say, but anyway, I messed up a lot of recordings, so this is the only one I'm going to send. So thank you and bye.
Thank you very much. It's lovely to hear from you. We really enjoyed listening to your message, Rocío. Lovely pronunciation. It's very, very clear. And thank you so much for making the word advice an uncountable noun, because we hear that word said incorrectly so many times. You said correctly a piece of advice. So thank you.
I didn't notice any mistakes in Rocío's message, did you?
No, I thought it was wonderful. I thought it was perfect. And the main point of Rocío's message is because she's looking for ways to improve her writing. So what can Rocío do to focus on her writing and make it better? Well, one suggestion is to find a pen pal. Some English speakers are learning Spanish and they're looking for people to help them improve their Spanish writing. So go online, go to Mr. Google and search for pen pals, people learning Spanish, people learning English, writing, those kind of keywords. I'm sure there are forums and websites and places where you could get together with a person with similar interests, preferably somebody who is a similar age, and you can speak about different things and write to each other and then give feedback on the writing. Obviously, it's better if the English speaker speaks Spanish at a similar level to your English so that you can help each other and you're on the same kind of level. That would be a good idea. Any other ideas, Reza?
Yes, you could also get involved on blogs. It could be a blog about anything. It could be based on a hobby. It doesn't just have to be a blog about learning English. A blog based on your hobby, or even get involved in a Facebook group. again, based around a hobby. Doesn't have to be about learning English. It could be, but it could be about football, dancing, cookery, whatever. And that's a good chance to practice your written English and also reading as well, possibly listening and speaking too.
Another idea is, and I don't know if regular listeners remember an episode we did with our friend Sandra, who's an English teacher, but originally from the United States. And she gave us a very good recommendation from Cambridge English called Cambridge English Write and Improve. Now, I've linked to this in the show notes to this episode. So go to inglespodcast.com/319 and you'll see the link there. And I actually tried this for you, Rothil, because just to make sure that it's good software, and it is very, very good. They have writing tasks on the webpage. You choose a task, and then there's a task timer. That's really useful for students who are practicing for an exam. So you set your timer for 45 minutes, for example, and then you do your writing. It also has a word count on the webpage, so you know how many words you're writing, because we know that you have to keep in a certain limit for your Cambridge tasks. And then it checks it for you. It checks the accuracy of your grammar, the accuracy of your collocation and the vocabulary you're using. It checks your spelling and any suspicious words that it doesn't really understand, it will flag, which means it gives you a signal to look and check that you've written the word correctly. It also notices collocation very well. Now, this isn't a person sitting on a computer somewhere reading your writing. This is an algorithm. And if you've written with a spell check in Microsoft Word, for example, you know that an algorithm is a computer correcting your writing. These algorithms have got very, very good now. And I made some mistakes on purpose, and I found that the algorithm in the software corrected my English very, very well. For example, I wrote, "A balance needs to be done," and that noticed it was not correct. And I wrote, "A balance needs to be made," and it was correct. So it really does help you with lots of aspects of your written English. And when you finished your task, it will give you a CEFR level. This is a free Cambridge writing checker. It costs you no money. Go and try it. I liked it very much. And it's a suggestion for Rothil.
Is it AI? Artificial intelligence?
Yes.
Okay.
Artificial intelligence.
Yeah, the algorithm.
Yeah.
Craig, there is another possibility, although it's not exactly free, although it is economic. Another way you could get your writing checked, is there not?
Yes, you could use italki, which sponsors this podcast. Now, with the Cambridge English online writing checker, it does use AI, artificial intelligence and algorithms. Maybe you prefer to get your writing checked by a real human and get some feedback, more personal feedback from a native speaker. If this is what you're looking for, we suggest finding a teacher on italki. And the way it works, you go to the italki website, you look for a teacher who you think has the experience and the qualifications to help you. In Rothil's case, it may be a writing expert, someone who will train you in writing for exams, for example. And you connect on Skype, and the teacher will prepare lessons and speak to you and help you with any aspect of your English. If you're interested, go and try it, go and check it out. italki are offering a $10 credit to get you started once you sign up and you pay for your first lesson. And in order to do that, go to our website, inglespodcast.com/319. You will see a link and an italki image. Click there, and that will take you directly to the italki page where you get more information about the service. And Reza and I would like to thank italki very much for sponsoring this podcast.
We have some more feedback, this time written feedback in an email. Rothio lives in Chile. Bea says that she kind of lives everywhere. Shall I read out her email? And you can see what I mean.
Yeah, go ahead.
She writes, "It's been a long time since I don't listen to you." Doesn't sound good, does it? "It's been a long time since I've listened to you." This is a typical mistake which we've mentioned in other podcasts. It's positive in English. I know in Spanish you say negative, desde que no soy escucha, but in English, since I've listened to you. Present perfect, positive. And I'm so glad reading your email and happy to see that you are fine and that you kept high your motivation. I would say kept your motivation high because we say to keep plus something and then the adjective. Keep your chin up, keep your motivation high.
Keep your money in your pocket.
Money in your pocket, keep your spirits high. So keep something plus the adjective. So keep your motivation high. I've been missing you a lot. Oh, thanks very much, Bea, for thinking about us. I've been missing you a lot, changing from one country to another. You see, she doesn't live in a fixed country. She moves around. I started listening to the podcast in Greece at the end of 2018, driving my children to school. Then we moved to Nigeria, so I try to listen to you on my short walks around our compound. Oh, so she's been living on compounds.
Sounds like something connected to the military, with the use of compound. Maybe her or her husband serves in the military, and that explains why she moves around.
Ah, yes, that would make sense. She continues. Now we are back in Spain, but leaving soon for Turkey.
Wow.
She gets around. It sounds crazy, but we are happy with this life. I think that I will study English forever, as never is going to be perfect, she says, but she means as it is never going to be perfect. But I cannot thank you enough for your podcasts. Thank you very much. I have learned a lot. My children love some of the episodes as well. They are 11 and 12 years old. Oh, we're really glad when we hear about families listening to podcasts.
That's why fantastic. I wanted to include this message from Bea, because I think it's nice that we know that people are out there listening.
Keep going, stay safe, and hope you can come back to normality very soon. Say hello to Reza, because she wrote this to Craig. Say hello to Reza and a big hug. Thank you so much, Bea.
Thank you, Bea. That's lovely.
Thanks very much, Bea. And a big hug for you as well.
And hi to your children. Don't know their names, but hello to children of Bea. Next, we have an audio message from David from Barcelona, who's living in Australia. Another person in Australia. Well, I'll be. Reza?
Good arvo, David.
Do you know there's so many people living in Australia?
Nearly as many people as sheep now.
I think there's more people living in Australia from Spain than people from Australia living in Australia.
G'day, mate. How are you? It's David from Barcelona. I've been living in Australia for the last 7 months, and I'm working here as a geologist in a gold exploration company. And I just wanted to say thank you so much for the job you've done so far. I'm really appreciative for it. I remember you say in a previous episode that you had some questions about how these grow shops work in Spain, because there is like this gray area that you can join to these clubs and buy some marijuana. It kind of works this way, but pretty much what happened is that you can get in this club and you're only allowed to get, I think it's 2 to 3 grams per person per day. But as soon as you get out of that place, if you're still having that marijuana in your pockets, that is illegal. So it just happened to be that you can get in those places, pay an annual subscription or something like that, and then they provide you with this amount of marijuana per day. Yeah, well, at least that's the way it worked 2 years ago. But yeah, well, moving on. Just wanted to let you know that I'll give it a try to italki, because I've got a list with a lot of questions that I have, and I don't want to overwhelm you. So I think I'll give it a try with a personal teacher in italki, and I'll let you know as soon as I get it done. And then I can tell you my experience. And my last thing to mention is that when I first started learning English, I used a book called English is Not Easy. And I think it's a really, really good book for beginners and from beginners to intermediate advanced level. Because it's the writer is a girl from Spain that moved to New York a few years ago. And the thing is, it's a really, really good book because it tells you about daily needs vocabulary. And she goes through everything from verb tenses to phrasal verbs, idioms, insults, false friends, every single thing. But in a really nice way, because she's just drawing pictures in every single page. So it makes it really easy to remember the stuff she's talking about, because as soon as you think, I don't remember the second conditional or the third conditional, and then you remember the picture she was using to explain it, and it's much easier because you remember the example. It's really good, honestly. Yeah, well, it helped me a lot back in those days when I had no idea about talking or speaking in English. And I recommend it to everybody that is starting to learn or study English. So yeah, guys, once again, thank you very much. Keep this good work on, and I'll see you soon. Take care and be safe. All the best.
Thank you, David. Wow, lots of great information and things to talk about in your message. Let's start with Reza. Any comments?
That was a fantastic message. And I noticed that, David, you've started to get a bit of an Australian accent, which is great.
Yeah.
That's cool. You can tell that you've been influenced by Australian accents. You know, like you're doing that thing, like sometimes going up a little bit in a sentence, which is fine because native speakers speak like that. It's great.
And I heard a little, what they call a glottal stop, where the T's at the end of words, and this is common also in the south of England, where instead of saying a lot, you say a lot, a lot. I like it a lot, which is also common in Australian pronunciation. One thing to start with, David, thank you for your information on the clubs you can visit in Spain and their legality. That's very useful information. Actually, I'm going down to see my sister next week. I haven't seen her for a long time because of the lockdown here in Spain. I don't think we will be going inside this particular aforementioned club. Aforementioned means the one we mentioned before. And I definitely won't be paying an annual subscription, but it's always good to know about these places and what's going on inside. So yeah, thanks for your information there. I liked the use of overwhelm, which in Spanish is agobiar, abrumar. You said, I don't want to overwhelm you with information. Too much. Remember, the prefix over always means too much, overspend, overweight, etc. You could also say overburden, B-U-R-D-E-N. I don't want to overburden you with too much.
Yes, David, your message was perfect, almost. So yes, your English has improved a lot, but you were undone. That means you got into trouble with prepositions. Prepositions, they so often cause problems. I think you said join to these clubs, but there's no preposition to it. Join these clubs without to. Another thing is, you very kindly asked us to, you said keep it on, but you meant keep it up. So to continue doing something is to keep it up, not on.
And please do, yes, let us know how it goes with italki if you decide to study with a teacher on italki. We love to get feedback from any listener who has used the italki service. And thank you also for your recommendation of the book, English is Not Easy. I did Google it. It is by Blackie Books, B-L-A-C-K-I-E, Blackie Books. It's $19.90. That's how much it costs, €20 on the internet. And there's a link in the show notes if you're interested in buying it. It's inglespodcast.com/319. That's where you will find the link to the book. And it sounds very, very useful for visual learners because it has pictures. So if you are the kind of person to learn visually with pictures and cartoons, etc., this does sound like a very useful resource in your English armory. Next, we have some questions from our good friend of the show, Rafa Segarra. It's really good to hear from you, Rafa, who's been following us for many, many, many years. And I apologize for our late reply to your questions. But this is what Rafa says. Hello, Craig. I've got a couple of questions I'd like you to explain to me. Thanks in advance, Rafa. Firstly, I've realized when reading that there are some sentences which don't specify an adverbial time. However, some of them go in past simple and some in present perfect. And here Rafa gives some examples. His first example, what did they say? And what have they said? And the second example, where have you been? And where were you? So Reza, does it matter when we use the past simple and present perfect, focusing on these two examples? What did they say? What have they said? Present perfect. And where have you been? Present perfect. Where were you? Past simple. What's the difference?
Yes, it does matter. It does make a difference if you use past simple, present perfect. But I think we can explain it. Let's take your first example, Rafa. You said the difference between what did they say and what have they said, for example. In English, we use the past simple, what did they say, for things said, or it could be for any verb as well, done, eaten, whatever. But let's stick with this, what did they say? So for things said at a specific time in the past, specific time, even if that specific time is not stated. So I'm referring specifically to your question about adverbial time expressions. So there may not be an adverbial time expression, but we are talking about a specific time. You got to bear that in mind. For example, imagine this sentence. What did they say about your presentation yesterday? That's obvious. That one's not difficult because clearly yesterday is a specific time. But in the context of a conversation, I might not say the word yesterday. Imagine we're talking about yesterday in general. Oh, what did you do yesterday? Oh, I visited my grandmother. What else did you do? Oh, I went to the bank, etc. And what did they say about your presentation? And imagine I don't add the word yesterday. Well, it's still got to be past simple because we're clearly talking about your presentation yesterday. So it doesn't matter that I didn't actually say the word yesterday. There's no adverbial time expression, but it's understood that it's a specific time in the past. So it has to be past simple, not present perfect. Craig, can you think of an example where you would use the present perfect?
Well, one example is the police are here to arrest me. What have they said? There's a connection with now. And if you remember, when we use the present perfect, there's very often a connection to now. It's bringing the past to the present, and there is a present relevance, a present meaning. So what have they said? Because their comments are relevant now. Another example I'm thinking of is with this current coronavirus situation. I could say the government have said that we have to wear masks. What's the present result? Well, the present result is now we're wearing masks because the government have said this. So there's a link and laugh it, there's a connection to now. And that's not the case when we use the past simple. The past simple is talking about a time in the past that has finished and is not connected to now.
Basically, that explanation is the same for your second example. You said, where have you been and where were you? So using the verb to be instead of the verb say, it's the same thing. So where have you been, present perfect, there'll be a connection with the present. For example, where have you been until now? Well, now is the present. So from the past up to now, present perfect. Where have you been until now? But you might not actually say the words, though, until now, because it's obvious. If you arrive home now and I'm your dad and I'm angry with you, I'll say, where have you been? I don't have to say until now. It's obvious that I'm referring to until now. So I may not actually say the adverbial time expression, but it's understood. And so in that case, it's definitely present perfect because it's until now.
Because the implication with your example is you're late. You're late now. So where have you been to give me the present result that you're late? Imagine Reza arrived at my flat today completely dirty, covered in oil, covered in dirt, his clothes ripped, his jeans torn, His hair is a mess. His glasses are broken. And I'd say, Reza, where have you been? Because you look so terrible. That is the present result that makes that connection between the past and now. What has happened, present perfect? Where have you been?
But where were you past simple? Well, that will refer to a specific time in the past. Again, I repeat, even if it isn't said. So imagine this example. Imagine that you phoned someone 12 hours ago, but nobody answered. But you phoned 12 hours ago. And now you say to that person, when you see them, where were you? I could add, where were you when I phoned 12 hours ago? But I don't need to add that. I can just say, where were you? So it's past simple because I'm referring to the fact that when I called you 12 hours ago, which is a specific time in the past, you didn't answer. So that's past simple. Where were you? Or 12 hours ago would be last night. So I could say, where were you last night? Or I could just say, where were you? So I understand what your difficulty is, Rafa. Your problem is that if there's no adverbial time expression to help you, but what you've got to do if there isn't one is kind of imagine what it would be. And if it would be a specific time in the past, then it's past simple. But if it's up to now, it's going to be present perfect.
And there's one more thing I'll add, and I'm not sure if you agree with this, Reza, but when you translate into Spanish the use of present perfect with reporting speech, for example, it's very common to say in Spanish, me ha dicho, él me ha dicho. And that translates to English as he has said to me. That sounds strange to me because the thing he said is in the past. There's no connection to now because he said it and it's gone. It's disappeared. It belongs in the past. So it's more common in English to say he said or he said to me, not he has said. Do you agree with that?
Yeah, so you can't always directly translate from Spanish to English. It doesn't always work.
And that's the difference, I think, between the Spanish pretérito perfecto and the English tenses.
Yep.
What about his third example here? It was me and it's been me. Again, it was me, past simple. It's been me. It has been me, present perfect.
Well, they need context. For example, if you said, it was me who phoned you last night, or it was me who pushed you, or it was me who broke the glass. We're talking about specific occasions, last night, phoning, breaking the glass 4 days ago. So it's specific occasions, specific times in the past, so past simple. Whereas it's been me has a connection with the present. So for example, if I am your father, again, I think it's my second example as a father, and I say to you, it's been me who has helped you all your life. I'm talking about up to now. From the past, when you were a kid, up to now, you're 21 years old, imagine. And the typical thing, you say, oh, you never do anything for me, Dad. And I say, it's been me who's helped you all your life. Don't you forget it, from the past right up to me. It's been me who's paid for your education, who has paid from the past up to now.
I don't know if you've noticed this, but very often now on television and on podcasts too, when people have finished, it's the end of the show, the TV show or whatever, and the person wants to say their name. In the past, people used to say, I'm Craig, or my name's Craig, thank you for watching, thank you for listening. Now, it's very common to hear, I've been Craig, thank you for listening. I've been Craig Wheeland, see you next week. Have you noticed that?
I've noticed that, yeah, but I wouldn't advise our listeners to do it.
I don't like it.
Yeah, it only really works if you're like trying to be funny, perhaps, or dramatic. I first heard it from stand-up comedy.
Yes.
That's where I first heard it.
Me too.
Yeah, the typical phrase of comedians was to say, I've been Craig and you've been a lovely audience. That was kind of their way of making both verbs present perfect. Yeah, so it's kind of for special effect, really, isn't it?
But it's interesting. I'm hearing it more and more, and I'm starting to hear it a lot on podcasts by podcast hosts. But I don't think I'll be using it because I don't really like it. What's Rafa's next question? Rafa says, and secondly, well, we can use a verb with ing to use it as a subject, but I've noticed there are some times when sentences start with an infinitive. For example, flying is amazing, or to fly is amazing. So, are both correct? Asks Rafa. When do we use the infinitive? When do we use the gerund?
Oh, good question, Rafa. Very good question. They're both correct. They're both possible. And they both mean more or less the same thing. You can use the infinitive and say to fly is amazing, but it's much more common to use the gerund. The gerund is verb ing. So flying is amazing is much more common. I'm going to give you a different example because that's an extra confusing example you've chosen because we got ing flying and img amazing, which adds extra confusion. Let's say flying is good or to fly is good, right? Because the word amazing also ends in ing, but that's not an ing gerund. It's actually an adjective. So your example's a really tricky one. But we're talking about verb ing, which is gerund. So you can say to fly, but it's much more common to say flying. So normally use the gerund, ing, as the subject or object, or even what we call the complement of a sentence. By complement, we mean neither the subject nor the object, but something else. We'll give you a few examples. Here's the first one. Skiing is fun. In Spanish, you say esquiar. You definitely use infinitive. You say esquiar es divertido. But in English, the most common way is ing. Skiing is fun.
It sounds strange to me to say to ski is fun.
Sounds strange, but it's possible.
But not common.
Not common, no. Can you think of a few more examples with ing?
Smoking is bad for your health. Everybody knows that. Smoking is bad for you. I would not say to smoke is bad for you. No. Definitely I'd use the gerund there.
Another one could be, and it's true for me, I hate peeling potatoes. So I suppose you could say I hate to peel, but it sounds a bit odd. Much more common to say I hate peeling. In Spanish, it would be infinitive. You would say odio pelar patatas. But in English, it's ing. I hate peeling potatoes.
Another example, jazz music is letting your creativity run free in sound. Jazz music is letting or is allowing your creativity to run free or run free in sound. So again, the use of ing.
I wanted to use that example to explain also what is a complement. So when I say to you, skiing is fun, skiing is a subject, right? Smoking is bad for your health, it's a subject. I hate peeling, peeling is an object. But here we got what we call a complement. Jazz music is, well, what is jazz music? Letting your creativity run free in sound. It's not subject or object. Whenever you got the verb to be, and to make it easy for you, let's say, the thing on both sides of the verb to be are the same. That's when we call it a complement. So jazz music, what's jazz music? Letting your creativity run free and sound. That's jazz music. That's what we call a complement in English. It says neither subject nor object. A complement is also ing if you use a verb.
But that's not the same use of compliment as you look nice today, I like your hair, that's a wonderful shirt.
Yes, different spelling.
Yeah.
This complement is complement, but the other is pli. Oh, I like your hair. Pliment.
Now, we said before that it's more common to use the gerund, but you can use the infinitive. Yes, you can, but in that case, it makes it sound more abstract, more poetic. Here's an example. To be or not to be? That is the question. You might recognize that from Shakespeare, from the play Hamlet. To be or not to be? That is the question. There you have the infinitive. But of course, you could also say being or not being. That's the question.
Yeah, but in this case, to be sounds much better, doesn't it? In this case, it works much better.
Because we've heard it thousands and thousands of times and we're used to it, yeah?
To be exact, from 1599, let's say 1600. So we've been hearing it for the last 300 years.
Well, we haven't.
400 years.
We haven't, but people have.
So it's not. We can't go and change it now and say, oh, let's try a gerund, being or not. No. But also it works better because clearly Shakespeare, he wants to be poetic and he wants to be abstract. He's philosophizing about life, etc. So in that case, yes, infinitive works. There's another meaning of infinitive, but don't worry, you already know it. It's nothing new. It's the meaning of in order to. But sometimes we just say to. For example, let's use the Beatles, a group that I like very much. To lead a better life, I need my love to be here. I said to lead a better life. What I'm really saying is in order to lead a better life. So that's another use of infinitive. In order to lead a better life, but I can drop in order and just say to lead a better life. I need my love to be here. You have to use infinitive for that. You cannot say leading. That would be incorrect here. It's got to be infinitive because it's the meaning of in order to. However, the Beatles were very good wordsmiths. A wordsmith is somebody who's good with words. And they go on in the same song, they continue. To lead a better life, I need my love to be here. And if she's beside me, I know I need never care. But to love her is to need her everywhere, knowing that love is to share. Let me repeat one line. But to love her is to need her everywhere. They've used infinitive again, but this time it's a different use of infinitive. Here they could say, but loving her is needing her everywhere. They could use an ing there, but they don't. They've decided to be more poetic, so they've kept it as infinitive. So they've actually mixed in the same lyrics two different uses of infinitive, the in order to and the use that is similar to the gerund. What's more, they actually use an ing, knowing that love is to share, but we'll save that for another lesson. That is not gerund, by the way. That's what we call the present participle, but let's not confuse you too much with that for the moment.
Is there a way we could link to that song so that people could go to the show notes and hear it and read the lyrics?
Yep. I'll leave a clip of the song as a link, and I'll also leave a link to the lyrics. You might be saying, I can see the expression already in Craig's face with a totally logical question. Why didn't he just put a song with the lyrics in one link? Why two links? Why a link to the song and a link to lyrics? Because you can only get crappy versions of the song with the lyrics. That is the answer. So I'm giving you a link to the original song, but remastered without the lyrics, and a link to lyrics on a separate page, AZ Lyrics. So you can hear the sound of the song proper quality and the lyrics. That's the reason why, not just to make your life difficult.
And now it's your turn to practice your English. We would love for you to send us a voice message. You can do that by using our SpeakPipe app. Go to SpeakPipe, speakpipe.com/English podcast. Or you could send us an email with a comment or question. Reza, how can people send us emails?
You could write to Craig. He's at craig@englishpodcast.com, or write to me, belfastreza@gmail.com.
There are paid courses that you can buy to improve your English. Go to store.mencioningles.net for more details.
And last but not least, thank you to all our Patreon sponsors. Those are the people who voluntarily have decided to donate money to us. You can donate as little as $1 a month. And for doing that, they get access to the most recent audio transcripts in full. As we always say, we'd like to thank all of you, but we haven't got time in each episode. So we will just thank the most recent sponsors who've joined.
And thank you to the lovely Anna Giovanna, to Giulia Gamboa, to Juan Tenzin Giazzo, and to Anna G. Cortez T. Thank you very much for your support. If you'd like to become part of our Patreon program, for more information, go to Patreon, patreon.com/Ingles podcast. And for a minimum of $1 per month, you get instant access to recent transcriptions. What's next week, Reza?
Next week, we'll be talking about a history of the English language in 20 minutes.
Oh, we'll try to make it 20 minutes. Let's see if we can manage it. Please join us next week. Thank you for listening to us this week. Until next time, stay safe, take care. It's goodbye from me.
And goodbye from me.
The music in this podcast is by Pitts. The track is called See You Later. Music also by AIRC319. The track was Wu Chi. Copyright 2019 under Creative Commons license.